The number of people in the building, that'll be in the thousands.
Enormous loss of life there.
Noon, shock and disbelief. As the dead and wounded are taken to East Coast hospitals, officials in New York and Washington report a shortage of blood.
We knew the people inside of it couldn't see anything because we saw them running at us. So our job was to just get out of the way. What happened was we couldn't get out of the way fast enough and it caught up with us. We have people crying. They were creating a human chain, literally.
While residents and tourists scramble to get out of the area, firefighters and police move into what has turned into a war zone.
How long did it take you to get out of the building?
About 45 minutes. Some people were upset.
The dust settled, signs of life started to emerge.
Chaos. It's just chaos out here. It really is. So the Twin Towers fall. It's amazing. It's crazy. I can't believe this shit is happening. I really can't. It's nightmares. Armageddon right here.
This was the worst act of terrorism on U.S. soil.
Multiple burn injuries and a lot of people that were crushed.
Probably 15 minutes to the 40th floor. And then after that, we got held up. There were firefighters coming up the stairs, police officers, and I believe FBI agents.
And that's only the people that have been counted by an official city agency. Of 200 firefighters perished in the collapse of one of those towers. This is why I think tomorrow is going to be, as I said, a tougher day than today.
The state authorities, and then we'll join a team then.
And what's your role?
I am actually, we are tunnelers, really. We will go through the debris, small cracks. I've never experienced something like this before.
How long do you think this is going to take to go through?
A long time. There's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done. Glass buildings 7, 8 blocks away, smashed. You know, it's devastation, completely.
And have you seen any bodies?
Not yet, we haven't. We're waiting for everybody else, wait for coordination to get together.
Out of the building, actually exited the complex.
These pictures obviously show the unspeakable horror and tragedy, the fallout from which we're only just beginning to grasp.
And then everything is collapsed. And we run, I'm run. And then I jump to the roof.
All day long, more fallout.
Because it might be a bomb in the school, maybe.
A reported bomb threat. A dangerous gas leak.
This is Ed Sullivan. I want that building evacuated.
All civilians, please head north of Moore Street.
I was on my way to work, and the dust come down and cover us. We had to feel our way out from the dust.
An enormous number, maybe 1 in 5, were rescue workers, firefighters, and police officers, and as we've heard over and over again.
I walked from my office, which is a quarter mile away, and it was desolate. It was like a nuclear bomb had gone off.
They're shaking his hand. I believe the man himself is fine. Right now, they're trying to get a medic to him.
We do know there are people in the building that are alive. And we're making every effort to get to them.
We've closed New York City south of 14th Street for tomorrow. The point right now is to make sure the entire focus is on the rescue and the search efforts, and that the emergency crews can get in and out as easily and as readily as possible. And
we've got over 300 people that are missing that we can't account for.
Officials who've already lost roughly 300 cops and firemen killed in the disaster ordered some rescue teams pulled back.
New York City just looks like an absolute destruction zone.
3 hours after the attack, area residents have put out an open call for volunteers to search the rubble for any signs of possible survivors.
They're here to volunteer. They're a laborer, they're a plumber, they're an electrician, whatever they are.
Some of them, the firefighters, the police. They're not by order, but by spirit.
But it's hard to quantify heartache until you come face to face with it.
He says he's okay. He's telling everyone he's okay.
It was one of those moments these rescue workers live for. For nearly 48 hours, men and women, cops, construction workers, and firefighters have scratched and pulled and cut their way through a mountain of rubble that was once the World Trade Center. 1,600 volunteers called in. Thousands more just showed up.
Hey, we need buckets and a couple guys! Buckets!
In the midst of it all, reminders of reality. Inside that orange body bag, one of too many victims.
10 hours out, you can see behind me the remnants of the fire still coming from that area where 2 commercial...
This is one of the darkest days in American history.
There's renewed fear tonight of even more building collapses. This has been a concern all along, obviously.
A lot of these rescue workers were risking their lives working down in this hole
digging, trying to find individuals if anybody was alive.
Ground zero, what's left of the Twin Towers on Church Street in Lower Manhattan. It looks like an eerie, desolate lunar landscape. The shell of the twisted skyscrapers, a testament to the worst apparent terror attack in the nation's history, probably world history. Emergency police and fire vehicles crushed, covered in soot, and abandoned. A firefighter's helmet lays amid no immediate signs of life, save that of the rescue workers. Office papers, notes, and the remains of briefcases strewn on the ground. Even a child's rag doll laying silently on the street. Firemen with flashlights looking for the rubble. The flicker of a flame still visible inside one of the toppled towers. The flags that once stood so proudly outside the 110-story high buildings, the only thing still standing. A doctor wearing a stethoscope looking for someone to save.
The zone where the public has to be behind right now. And what they're doing is they're blowing whistles and they're letting people know that they're appreciated. The emergency workers come by, some of them wave back.
The smoke and yes, still the flames from what happened today at the World Trade Center.
With the loss of hundreds of brothers, the family draws its strength from each other.
The center of America's financial area, and now it doesn't exist anymore. There is still dust, choking dust. The air is so thick, it's very hard to breathe. It's very difficult to see.
The edges of them, I hope you can see it at least, the edges of them singed. This comes from Cantor Fitzgerald, one of the investment firms in the World Trade Center. Obviously, when the building blew and the paper flew, it scattered all over the area. It crossed the water and in and over to Brooklyn and into our friend and colleague's backyard today.
While smoke from the collapse of the Twin Towers still lingered over New York City, most who saw and survived this day still had trouble believing what they saw. The phrase you heard over and over again was, "It seemed just like a movie."
Flying all over, coming up in the air, obviously a very terrible sight.
And we're taking a look at some live pictures right now. You can see the fires still continuing at the Pentagon now, some 12 hours.
Cast over the entire area. Fire crews are hosing down the smoldering remains.
It is midnight in New York, marking the end of a day that will forever change the city's skyline.
Grim part of this story, Aaron. Refrigerated trucks also going out, and we presume that they're carrying human remains. They're picking it out one piece at a time so as not to force any collapse that would jeopardize anyone still alive beneath. But that building is believed to have been structurally weakened in the collapse of the World Trade Center, and so there is some danger that it might collapse itself.
No signs of life. No large pieces of debris, only small shreds of stuff, and the telltale sign, one of the most telltale signs of what's going on out there, a big crater about 30 to 35 feet deep at its most shallow point, but perhaps goes even deeper than that.
This is the lobby of what used to be one of New York's finer hotels. In an instant, the ground floor became ground zero as the South Tower collapsed right across the street. From behind the reservation desk, computers still glow. Around the corner, elevators sound a faint alarm, just like the one at the security desk. Its urgency a flashing understatement.
There are a host of eerie scenes in the wake of this disaster, but perhaps no place really describes how sudden it all happened than here. This is the restaurant in the Hilton Millennium Hotel at the World Trade Center. At the time of the blast, it was breakfast time. Coffee cups still filled with coffee, breakfast plates now covered in dust. Still hanging on the walls, a reminder of what used to be, while out the next window, the reality of what is now.
Today, for the first time, rescue teams reached the bottom of Tower 1. These are the first images out, taken by a rescue worker, of the dark and deadly corners that must be searched. Surreal, quiet images, stillness that often ends suddenly.
Excuse me, sir, have you heard what happened?
Twice today, rescue workers were ordered to run when it was feared another building was about to collapse. Besides the two World Trade Center towers, at least 4 other buildings have fallen, and portions of at least 8 others may go next.
We have 4,763 people on the missing persons list.
Aid by the truckload is still pouring into New York City, but anguish is never far behind. That fire department chaplain who died Tuesday was killed as he gave last rites to a firefighter laying at his feet.
Yeah, this is what Michael Judge was all about. He said, Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say, and keep me out of your way.
We're still hopeful that we're gonna find people.
You can see it was very shortly after takeoff that they make a hard left turn and head for New York Harbor and the World Trade Center.
In the year 2000, from a satellite 420 miles up. Yesterday, at about the same time, and that extraordinary scene of the trade tower is picked up by the satellite as well. So there's the Hudson River on the right, and there is the trade tower looking at the southern edge of Manhattan yesterday as it was a year ago. This is the Pentagon from the Space Imagining Company. We don't know precisely when this was. Here's what it looked like from a satellite yesterday, 400 miles up in the air.
No planes overhead, no car alarms, strangely no sirens. This morning, no traffic jams, no rush hour crowds, no 110-story buildings where 2 had stood yesterday. People rushed to buy up postcards, vibrant reminders of what New York City looked like on Monday.
I'm used to seeing the Twin Towers, and this morning they weren't there. And it was sad. It was just sad. You know, it's just horrible.
Tuesday, a day of horror. Today, in this city at Ground Zero, a day of stunned reflection.
How many saved? How many lost? Who did this? And why?
The Trade Center used to tower over this neighborhood. Now, what's left of it is being driven to a local dump. And in every piece of debris, there's a story. We've got receipts here. The address is the World Trade Center. This is Kidder Peabody. This is a CEO's card, One World Trade Center.
Conducting a recovery day. Where's Stu? Find him down there.
It's a very dangerous rescue effort. That shouldn't. It's going to continue to be a dangerous rescue effort for some time.
For now, there are only small blessings for people like Jimmy Vescenza, who finally was able to make it out of the war zone that is Lower Manhattan and back to the loving embrace of family.
Everybody was lined up trying to hitchhike out of the tunnel. It was like, you know, and this guy pulled up in a pickup truck and drove me all the way to the ferry, and I got home, and I'm home now.
Ankle deep in debris and despair, rescue workers waited. Some had relatives of their own inside.
We know we have some of the major brass of our department missing. We're trying to find them, too.
New York Port Authority Police Chief William Hall choked back tears. For him, this was no longer just work.
On a personal level, because I know that these all...
In New York, exhausted rescue workers caught their breath. Signs said pray, and surely many did. And some just cried.
Cars covered with soot. Cars literally crushed. Look at the engine inside this car. It's melted. And in the air, there is a choking, perhaps dangerous soot flying around. All clear signs of what terror and hatred can do.
An elevator at the nearby West Hilton Hotel pierces the silence, carrying no passengers. Blood smeared in the lobby where guests once checked in. Numerous buildings in the financial district have windows blown out and structural damage. A skyscraper known as One Liberty Plaza has partially collapsed. And building number 5 of the World Trade Center complex is barely holding up. It too could go at any minute.
What the skyline looked like then, take a look at it, of course familiar to everyone, and then what it looks like after